Hey everyone, today I'll talk about David for gene function analysis. David is a web server tool that can provide gene function analysis. It's a database, and you can access the web server of David by clicking this link. If you want to read this paper and want to know more detail, you can refer to the paper published about 10 years ago. Briefly, before we talk about the example of the David, we want to talk about the assumption and some methodology of David. So David measures the functional relationship of gene pairs based on the similarity of global annotation profiles. So instead of measure the similarity of gene pairs based on the sequence similarity, it measures the gene pair similarity based on the functional annotation profiles. The hypothesis is that if two genes have similar functional profile, they should be functionally relevant. So David used a statistic called Kappa statistic to measure the similarity of two genes. So here is the example. We have genes from A, B, C, D, E, F, G in the rows and have functional annotation profiles in the columns such as cell death, membrane. And for each gene, we know whether this gene actually is functioning in the annotation or not. If functional, we annotate as 1, otherwise zeros. So we have this annotation table between the functional profiles and all the genes. Then how can we calculate the functional relationship between gene A and gene B? So for gene A and gene B, you can see that there are 3 co-occurrences between gene A and gene B as 1 across all the pathways. For example, for cell death, apoptosis, and for apoptosis pathway, we actually have 3 co-occurrence, which means both gene A and gene B are functional in these 3 annotations. For gene A is 0, gene B is 0, which means both gene A and gene B are not functional in the functional annotations. We found that there's 2 pathways, pH domains and membranes, for both gene A and gene B are not functional in these 2 annotation profiles. So we count this as 2. Similarly, we can get the off-diagonal entry, and we can create a 2x2 table in this way. And we can calculate the Kappa statistics by following the above formulas. And the Kappa statistics actually bounded between 0 and 1. 0 means co-occurrence between these 2 genes, no better than random chance. And 1 means perfectly co-occurrence. Therefore, we can use this Kappa statistic to measure arbitrary gene pairs. So indeed, in the backend of David, we have very large gene turn annotation matrix combining a binary model with thousands of annotation terms across 14 annotation categories, include the famous ones we use, like gene ontology, KGG pathways, bicatal pathways. And ANOVA, like a clustering algorithm, can classify a gene list into function related groups based on the functional similarity score. So here we want to use an example to demonstrate the usage of David. However, sometimes the David server runs very slow. I don't want to perform a real-time analysis. Instead, I will incorporate what I run previously and see the results and put it in the PPT. So let's go through from the screenshot in the PPT instead. We have a gene list, which are around 500 genes, I guess 300 to 500 genes. Those genes are associated with cardiovascular disease, and all the genes are represented by the official gene symbol. So we can see here. So if we want to run David, we basically can go to David website or click functional annotations, and we can upload the gene list here. So just we show here before, or just as we show here, we copy and paste the gene list here in step 1. Also, we can choose the files by upload the file directly instead of copy and paste. For select identify, because this is official gene symbol, we can choose official gene symbol, but of course we can do other things like ensemble gene ID if your gene is represented by other ID. Then we choose the gene list and submit, click the submit list pattern, and it takes some time to run. If very few people use David, probably can get results within 1 minute. However, sometimes it can wait as long as 5 minutes. So in terms of the time, I don't want to do a real-time analysis here, but I encourage you to play with some gene list by yourself by following the logic flow. And after I click submit list pattern, it automatically jumps into the gene list manager. We can see this gene sometimes conserve across multiple species. However, we're only interested in human. Thus, we choose the human sampling here, which include about 314 genes. And list one is the gene list we just uploaded. And we have several patterns here. For example, we can rename the gene list one into the gene list and interest data, or we can remove the gene list from the analysis, or we can combine actually two gene lists. And there's also one button here called Show Gene List. So we click the Show Gene List, and we have something like this called Gene List Report. So this is actually have a detailed annotation for the genes you provided in your list. So we have 314 genes related to human sampling. The first column is official gene symbol. The second column is a gene name, detailed gene name for each gene symbol. And we have related genes. So related genes, which means other genes have similar biological function for the gene, for each gene. So we can click IG, so we can get a list of other genes relevant to each gene in each row. You can click the download file. Basically, you can download all the detailed gene names for each gene symbol. So after that, we have another called the gene functional classification results. So basically, from the gene list, we can group all the genes together into different categories. And here we can actually group all the genes based on this function similarity. And for the 314 genes, when we run cluster all the genes, we can form 10 clusters. And for group one, we have like 7 genes have similar functionality, and group 2, so on and so forth. So how about we have a 10? So each cluster is performed by David to classify the list of the genes in the functionally relevant group. Those groups identified by annotation term concurrence. So actually, all these groups are clustered based on the Kaplan statistics we mentioned before. So this is especially important when you have like thousands or hundreds of genes. You want to see whether there are some group structure to classify all the genes into different groups. So you may be interested in some a couple groups that those genes share similar biological functions, or probably you want to investigate whether some genes can be grouped together than the others. So this is very important function in David to perform the gene classification based on the functional similarity. The second button, we have actually several buttons that we can click. One is called function annotation chart. So function annotation chart is associated with a list of genes to test for the enrichment relevant to the background set of genes. So because for each function, we have a bunch of genes in the backend database. And we provide a list of genes we're interested in. So we can calculate actually 2 enrichment. One is the enrichment to the gene list provided, another is background gene list. So we can compare these 2 enrichment, we can get something called p-value or Benjamin adjusted p-value. And here we can see different goal terms and categories from different annotation database. So this is the Golden CC director, which means gene ontology cellular component. For up keywords, this is standard for another annotation database. But for me, you can pay attention to Golden CC director. I think that is I use the most of it. And after that, you maybe want to see, okay, for the genes provided, which one is more statistically significant. So you want to have the cutoff for the p-value or for Benjamin adjusted p-value. I would recommend that you have the cutoff for Benjamin adjusted p-value, because this is adjusted for FDR. So you only have like 0.05 as a cutoff to select a significant function annotations for the gene state provided. Similarly, you can download this file by click the download file. It's saved to a TXT file. You can open by Excel and see all the columns here. The third function is called a function annotation clustering. So this is very similar to functional classification. And I think the only difference is like it can clustering into different groups instead of to rank all the annotations sequentially. So here, if we do function annotation clustering, you can cluster all the function annotation into 58 cluster. Because as we know that David collects a bunch of database. For example, have UpSeq, have UpKeywords, and Go terms. Actually, there are some kind of overlap between different databases, have different similarity in terms of function annotations. So this is good in terms of function annotation clustering to help you to remove some possibly redundant function annotations. So that is very helpful for you to remove some like redundant annotations. Similarly, you can also download the file here by clicking the download file, save to TXT table. And last, so I think we talk about 3 important functions of David, and we can also do some like a go-to analysis. Specifically, you click like a gene ontology here. So the jump you along our list. So the default have the 3 highlighted in red color. One is Golden BP direct, another is Golden CC direct. BP which is in short for biological process. CC in the cellular component. So we can actually click each one, click chart to see the enrichment goal terms for the gene state provided for biological process, cellular component, and the molecular function respectively. So this is example for we click after click for the button of Golden BP direct. So this we jump into the enrich biological process. We have 144 rows here, and we also have adjusted p-value here, Benjamin. And usually we have a cutoff, a significant cutoff like 0.05. And here we found that they are probably around, start from here, we have around 10 enrichment Golden here. And if in your paper presentation, it's important to present for the enrichment Golden instead of like pull out all the Goldens. I would suggest you to use Benjamin adjusted p-value as a cutoff to pick up the top like around 10 Goldens here. You can show that in a bar plot in your paper to demonstrate enrichment in certain biological process. So we click the button on gene ontology before, and then there's also a couple of buttons we can click. I think among all the buttons, one important button is pathways. For pathways, David mainly provides 3 important database: BBID, Bicatter, and KGG pathway. For me, I use KGG very often because this is like a dominant pathway widely used by researchers. So we click the KGG pathway and then we jump to like a 33rd like pathways possibly reach. And if we use the cutoff like 0.05 for Benjamin as just the p-value here, we found that we only have like around 5 enriched pathway here. Similarly, you can also download those pathways by clicking the download file. And that is, I think that is also the usage of David. I think for the David experiment to remember, this is measure the similarity of genes based on the function annotations. It can provide you for goal analysis, like for provide functionality for pathway analysis, and can group the genes in your gene list you provided into different function groups based on the functional similarity. And if you want to run the example of David, I would suggest you to go to their official website and upload the gene list you are interested in. And probably it sometimes take several minutes to run, but I think it was a try. I think that's all for David. Thank you. Please free to let me know if you have any question further.